So, I got comments from one person on the minutes from last month, but didn't get comments from others.
Folks arrived.
Do folks, you were not here, Debbie, but Basu, did you have a chance to look at
I
those?
looked at it.
Okay. I'm done.
You're going to have your back to the television.
That's okay.
Okay,
I
you
guess
can sit
I
there.
don't know, there's a water sitting there.
Yeah. Whatever.
Somebody left it.
Nobody's there.
You can sit here.
I guess it here.
It's like somebody in the water.
Oh, no, that.
It might be open.
That's
Yeah,
from
it's open.
the. Actually, why are we having bottled water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid
We're
waste.
not.
No, or it's recyclable, but
It's
still
plastic.
not.
No, it's tiny.
But China doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah. Exactly, that's the problem.
Okay,
Right.
let's back on topic here. We're trying to get through the minutes. Bob, did you get a chance to read the draft minutes from last month?
No.
You wanted to?
Sorry, this isn't them because I. No. Sorry.
Well, no pressure, but there's 4 pages now.
What are the
Let's just
comments?
look at 'em.
I'll pull it up.
What are the comments on the comments?
So Bill said he didn't have any comments, so, so far I have no, suggested amendments. But while Bob's looking at them, I just wanna review with people, as you know, I've been trying to encourage folks to review the minutes, before we come to the meeting so that we can just take a vote, but it's really a group decision. I just want to make sure people like that. If it doesn't work for people, we'll just all plan to review them when we come here. What I'm trying to avoid is have some people do their homework and other people not, and then, wait for each other. So, in any case, is it good with you, Basu?
Yeah.
Good with you, Bill?
I can agree with people.
I'm good with the municipal solar part of it. That's what I talked about.
Okay.
Who's asleep?
Are you comfortable voting to approve the minutes? Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't vote.
You can't, well, you
I wasn't
will,
here.
I move that we
so-
approve the minutes of, what's the date?
February. Just put
February
February's
sixth.
February
minutes.
meeting.
February meeting, do we have a
Seconded.
second? Okay, all of those in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye. Aye. So none opposed, and 1 abstention, and the minutes are approved. Great, thank you.
Can I just say something? I just want to give everybody some advance warning. I'm not going to be doing the minutes next year, okay? So somebody else has to just do that, and I'm not going to be the chair. So I'm just putting my feet in the sand in that position. So just leaving that in the atmosphere for people to dwell on.
Well, you're saying that, I'm not gonna be a member of the committee next year either.
Right, I think this is the sort of thing because it takes time to get people. I mean, if people say, well, you're not going to do anything, you get booted off. That's fine. I don't have a
Yeah, I'm
problem with
gonna
that.
too. I've been here too long,
You know.
I feel some new people should come in.
Well, I think if that's the
Yeah.
feeling, then we need to because it has to be done in June. We need to start putting feelers out to find out who we
Ask
should get
people,
on the
I
committee.
agree.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's put that
On the
as a
agenda.
topic for next month. Why don't you put that
Okay.
in notes to remind me? I certainly would like, I agree with the need, I'm not sure exactly how to accomplish it, what the most efficient way is or the best way to get new people in and what role the board might want to play and the board of selectmen might want to play, I don't know. And I guess they do approve members and invite them to join. So.
But I think the best way to get anyone on a committee is to actually go and ask people. I mean, that's how.
I don't think the board of selectmen has ever asked people to be
No.
on this committee. It's always
No,
No, it's always a word of mouth thinking
Yeah.
about
They
who
don't-
would be a really
they,
good fit.
But they approve them.
and
Yes.
things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so they approve them, but I think it just.
Kind of
I
a
think
rubber
actually.
stamp.
Because it's not
Yeah.
a committee, it's a task force. We
Yeah.
work under them. We're not a separate entity.
Right.
Well, we're appointed anyway, so.
Right.
But
Right.
and I think the other thing is, telling people that you don't have to be an American is a nice one. This is one of the few committees you can sit on without having to pledge allegiance to the flag, or this flag.
We consider
anyway.
you American, you're just not a citizen.
I might become an American and not tell anyone. That would be the sneaky thing to do, so I can sit on any committees, you know? No, it's on YouTube.
Plastered all over the internet.
Yeah. It's in England now. You're
Yeah,
losing
right.
You're losing your citizenship.
It's alright, I'm
Oh,
Scottish,
yeah.
I'm okay.
I'm Scottish.
Okay. So back on track here. So next, we'll talk about membership next meeting.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea. Thank you for the suggestion. And so last month we had Jan Corneal here presenting an overview of the master planning process, I guess we'll call it, and also their warrant article to solicit funds to hire a consultant to assist with that effort. Based on feedback we got last month, we deferred a vote to, well, first of all, let me back up. Jan was seeking endorsement from all the town committees. This is commonly done for warrant articles, and I think Wayne Davis usually asks if committees have a position on particular warrant articles at town meeting. So that's why she was coming to the task force here. In any case, we decided not to vote last month so that people could think about it a bit more. First, I'd like to open it up for discussion and hear what people's thoughts are and reflections are based on what happened, and then take a vote up or down to endorse it.
I obviously wasn't here, but I've been on. I was on the first master planning steering committee, and I've been working with Jan on with the high schoolers doing a presentation last week to the master plan advisory steering committee or something. I don't know, it's got a long word. And I mean, basically, it's sustainable. I mean, sustainability is part and parcel every single master planning effort in America now. It's just part and parcel. It's so
in the broader
important.
sense, though, it's not just environmental sustainability.
No, it's financial and
financial,
everything. It's everything it's joining up all the dots. I think for me, it's crucial that Carlisle has a master plan with the because we need to think about what we're going to do in the future from many aspects. So for me, it's something that has to be done. Yeah.
And just to remind everyone, the dollar figure was somewhere between 150 and 160,000, and I think that included a little bit of contingency. But I think personally, it's probably a reasonable thing to assume. I've never seen a consulting firm that doesn't end their report with a list of all the additional things that you can or should do.
Well, I think the other problem is you don't get any benefit from being a small town. It's whether you're a small or a large town, the cost is pretty much the same.
Yeah,
because it's the same process you have to go through, so it's the same number of meetings, the same sort of things. You just have less people attending.
Yeah.
And it's my viewpoint that town should definitely have a master plan, and it should keep it up, and it should live by it. I don't think we've done that in the past necessarily. We've had master plans before, and this is $150,000, and this is just for the initial plan, and what happens 2 years from now. So it's a great idea, we should have one, but I am concerned that it will not turn into.
I think it has to have the people buy into it in the management in town hall and in this with the selectmen.
To the board of
And the
selectmen,
and the planning
ever look
board.
at a mass, you know what I mean? It's
Well, at least you can refer to it when you're trying.
Right.
If you were like saying, we would like to put a solar array here, and it's been in the master plan, it's sort of already backing up. It's in the overall development.
But
That's the right
it would
place.
never be that specific, right?
Right.
It would be
The master plan, yeah.
No, not to say we'll
Yes,
put a
it
solar
can be.
plant there.
It can be.
Yeah, it can be.
It can be.
But the problem with that idea is that a master plan isn't something that you have to follow.
No,
you
because
look at
your
it.
circumstances
Right.
change all the time.
Exactly, so the next group of selectmen may look at it and say, no, I don't agree with this, and not follow it at all. And that's the only concern I have is that $150,000 is a lot of money for this small town. And we have so much things coming up on this warrant articles that are high dollar values. You know, they're looking at the police station, they're looking at the Greeno barn, they're looking at, there's a lot of spending that's gonna be happening. And the amount of money that is going to a plan that could be just put on the shelf after it's
Right.
done, or could be followed, but instead of having some really physical things being done with the same dollar amounts that we need, like, you know, like an RT rooftop unit for this building, paving the school, if you're gonna do the solar. I mean, there's so many things, capital improvements we need to do in the town, and the dollar amounts are only so much.
But at
Do
the
we want-
moment,
Yeah, I'm speaking.
sorry.
But do we wanna spend that much money on this plan, or maybe cut the robustness down and start having the volunteers look at it?
No,
Like
we can't
you do-
do. We cannot do a master plan with volunteers. It's just not. It's not possible. And the other, I mean, it's just there's so much work. It's
I understand
just
that.
not possible.
I understand.
And plus, you need somebody who's not from the town to be the buffer, because it has to be a full and forthright conversation you're having with people. And it's very hard if you're in the town to have.
Just
that.
like, if
Because Jan was looking into that originally.
No, I understand
and
that. I support a master plan. I think that the town
She
should have
just
one.
couldn't do it.
But the cost of it right now, in I hate to say the word right now because every year it's gonna be similar. Yeah, I mean, that Claude, you know, I know about the last 5 or 6 years, we struggle with it all the time. How much burden you wanna put on the taxpayer. And that's kind of where my comment was, you weren't here when I went to Jan. I said, Jan, we need to look at grants or something to get dollars outside of town. Not hidden taxes, not little pieces of taxes that you put onto the resident, because we are really a very high tax town right now. And somehow we need to balance this stuff. Are we gonna get all the dollars we put in the master plan, are we gonna get those benefits out of it, is a big question.
Well, I mean, I find it bizarre that we're looking at the Spalding. There's somebody paying someone to look at the Spalding field,
Oh,
and the Council of Aging are doing their, I don't know what they're doing, and the library, in the newspaper yet last week, the library are having let's redesign the library session. I'm sitting there going, hold on a minute, those buildings, A, we spent quite a lot of money in them, and B,
and what about the school mistake room? The school mistake room, they're gonna add sort of X number of square
that-
feet to the school. What about the fire station where we don't even need ADA or female
No, I agree,
requirements?
I agree.
And we need something done at the fire station, it's too crowded?
but
I mean, you
everybody
can go
is
on.
like, there seems to be no plan. Everybody's
Right.
like sitting saying, hey, I want, and that's the whole point about having a plan, is you actually have a plan, say, this year we're going to do this year we're going to do that, next year we're going to do that.
So I mean, theoretically, to me, you should have the plan before you even decide to spend all that money, because maybe you shouldn't be spending those money on those buildings, you know. Maybe the Highland School, we
Right.
need to decide what to do with that building.
Maybe if we had a plan, we would have decided differently on
On
that.
Highlands,
Right, or maybe we would say, hey, it's over, or let's make that the community, you know, make a decision
Yeah.
and go forward instead of just mothballing all these decisions. And again, now we're looking at a community center on the Spalding Field. I mean, that should come from a master plan. But
So,
that's the
from my
problem.
perspective
There's a
as
lot
a-
of competing people.
Yeah, I agree.
Just doing whatever.
No, I agree.
So from my perspective as a member of the Master Plan Advisory Council, I think this is an opportunity for you to get the feedback you were looking for from the town of how should we be in terms of like a net zero town, right? How far down this path do we want to go? So I think this is an excellent vehicle for you to accomplish that, right? That said,
we're hopeful that's
right.
the case.
So I was also reminded in another committee meeting earlier this week, or last week, that the original master plan from the 60s or whatever is what essentially predated saying that Carlisle should set aside a whole bunch of conservation land. And it was kind of the thing that got everyone to realize that that was a possibility, that we could go do that, right? And it's kind of what formed what is now Carlisle. So I think the master plan could have potentially have a lot of value if we can get some things like that in there.
So what I'm hearing so far is that people generally see the value of a master plan. And the question on the table is there a way to do it with less money, or no money potentially? I don't know. I guess I just want to see if I'm characterizing the mood here correctly.
Or spread out over a number of years.
Or have the cost spread out somewhat. Now, personally, I mean, I used to work for consulting firms. I worked for consulting firms for probably 25 years, so I'm as suspicious about consulting firms as anyone. I know some of the tricks, different kind of consulting, but even with those caveats, just my personal opinion is I think that the people involved, including Jan, have the wherewithal to effectively manage the consultants. It appeared to me, based on what she presented last month, that they'd done a reasonable amount of homework looking at what these plans cost and competitive analysis and that kind of thing. So, obviously the bids may come in lower, we don't know, but the budget amount struck me as reasonable, with the understanding that what you just said, the small towns don't really get much of a discount. There isn't much less work to do, unfortunately. That's a part of it. And I too have to say that I'm skeptical of doing a quality plan without paid help to do it. I'm very skeptical that we could pull that off and get a good quality plan in a reasonable amount of time. And I think the investment, it's obviously a judgment call. I can't prove it. I think the investment would pay for itself, but it's unfortunately it's a short-term hit for a long-term benefit. There's no getting around it. Sue, you've been pretty quiet.
I have two concerns. One is of course the cost, and the consultant do something with most of the time not much involvement with the town people, and then it becomes just something you put it on the shelf and nobody follows it, so you just waste the money.
Well,
So
Jan
how
did say
committed in our I don't know who the people are, Board of Selectmen or this Jan and our group, how committed these people are to follow it through,
I may be scrambling what she said last month and what Jan had said in a subcommittee meeting with Debbie and me, so forgive me if she did or didn't say this last month, but she said at least in one of those two meetings that that the job of the consultant, as I've interpreted her anyway, the job of the consultant is to help get that community input through whatever means to make sure that there is in fact buy-in in the community to support this and to ask the questions. For example, this whole idea about setting carbon reduction goals. I mean, you can't just walk up to someone and say, do you want to set carbon reduction goals, yes or no? I mean, that's not a meaningful answer to the question. They have to understand the implications of setting those goals. So, the trick is, I think, to get the right firm that can ask those questions. But I think the objective is to get a lot of community input to ensure that there's buy-in. But as she told us, confirmed last month, there is not any town vote on this. It's going to be a Board of Selectmen decision to approve it. But it's not legally binding either, as Bill pointed out. So, but I just wanted to explain that it is part of the plan to get that community input.
It seems like it'd be more effective if there was at least a vote on it, even if it was non-binding. It feels like the town should vote on it.
Well, I was surprised to hear that personally. I had just assumed incorrectly that there would be a town vote on it. But for whatever
I think
reason,
the Board of Selectmen is always looking any major decision to know is there support for this.
Exactly.
And then, they think it, and then they think, well, maybe there's not support for this because I've heard some complaints or something. And it should be a town vote, even if it's not binding, in my opinion.
So I would, I'm not Jan, but if I were speaking for Jan, I would say, well, again, part of why we're hiring consultants, to make
Right.
sure that they provide the evidence to the town that there is support for this plan.
Right.
And, you know, realistically, even if it did come to town meeting, how many people out of 5,000 come to town meeting and vote and approve?
That's right.
Well, there's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
things at town meeting this time,
Should we
though,
have a
so we might get a few
non-binding
more
paper
people
vote?
out.
Well, you can always put it on the vote, the town vote, you know, the election.
Ballot.
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 Yeah.
A non-binding ballot question, you could always say, and then
I'd be worried about that being British. We had something called Brexit that was non-binding.
you don't think that's the way to go.
Any other discussion on this before we take a vote? People sort of know where they sit. Any outstanding questions?
Well, we need a motion actually before we
Oh,
go
no,
vote.
I'm just
No.
asking before I do that. I guess that's probably not the order. Do we have a motion to vote to?
Well, it's do we want to recommend? I mean, we have to. Normally, we stand up in town meeting and say, or somebody from us says, the Energy Task Force voted by whatever it was to
endorse
endorse
this
this
warrant
or
article.
recommend this.
I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
So- that's the kind of thing we have to be prepared to do
Right.
at town meeting. And what town meeting's when? It's April,
April 29th,
right?
I haven't seen it. It's April 29th.
or April 30th.
So I think
whatever
you said
vote
you
is.
weren't going to be here, Bob. Is that right?
If it's April 29, I think I'll be here.
Okay, good. So you can stand up then.
I will be away for most of April,
Right.
but
Okay.
we'll
So
get that.
Well,
So, would you like to suggest wording for the motion?
this is where we need Helen. She's really good. So
It can be simply the Energy Task
task
Force
force.
endorses or recommends vote in favor of the warrant article. And obviously, if we don't have a majority vote that say aye, it would be, we'll say we voted to not endorse it.
Or can somebody abstain?
Or you can certainly abstain, yes.
Right,
as
you
always.
can, you
We
You
can
can say-
be the not the middle on the fence.
On the fence?
But personally, you know, we're asked to take an up or down vote, and she came here to answer
Yeah.
our questions, present what it is. I personally feel that we should vote on it one way or the other. Whatever the outcome.
So it's the town approve the funds. Force recommends that the town approves the funds for the master.
we don't have the
Well,
warrant,
it's really-
we don't have the warrant article,
No,
right?
No.
So we don't know what it says.
yeah, so it's
Um,
approve the funds. That's why I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
Well, how
Well,
about
we're
one-
recommending
Why-
what's going to be voted on by the
Town.
By when you say the town, you mean
It's voted at town meeting
the
because
larger
it's a
town
budget.
group, right? We recommend approval of the warrant article to hire a
Alright,
consultant.
how can we recommend approval of the warrant article if we
But we
don't
don't
even know
have
what
the
it's
amount.
written?
Exactly.
So the way we should say, and then I could be positive with this, is that we strongly approve of a master plan being developed.
Yeah.
That way, we're not talking about dollars, and we're not talking about the warrant article, because we don't have the warrant article in hand yet. That's just a thought, suggestion, or some wording of that. Because I
Well,
support a master plan, I'm just not there yet with the cost.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but to
we
be-
put. I mean, I think the more important thing is to actually just be, you know, we know it's. Yeah, exactly.
But
We
if
know
you
we know
ask-
something that we don't know exactly what's being
Right,
presented
if you
to
ask
town
me to
meeting.
support the warrant, I can have to vote no, because I don't see the warrant, I don't know what I'm saying I support.
Well,
I
okay,
need to see the
but
wording
in
book.
fairness, Bill, you asked last month, will we wait a month to have this vote? And
Yeah.
you had a month to ask for the draft warrant article and look at it, if you needed to see that to be prepared for this vote. So, my concern
Have you
is.
seen it?
No, I've not seen it, but I don't need to see it because I understand what's being asked. What's key to me is the warrant article. It's probably going to be very short. It's probably going to be like 2 sentences that say, you know, we approve of 150 or 160,000, whichever number they settle on, to be expended on consultants to assist with the master planning process. I doubt it would be more specific than that. I don't know that, and I haven't seen it, but I don't, you know, and personally, I don't feel the need to see the wording of the warrant article. We were, you know, so our options are not to vote on it the way we were asked to vote on it. We could take a less, you know, we can take a different vote that we weren't asked to take here, or we can defer to a special meeting, but I'm not sure, well, I guess, so we'll have an April meeting. We could defer another month. I'm not necessarily recommending that, but we could. I won't be here for next month's meeting, but we can still vote on it.
If you asked me, personally, if you asked me this, that I support the master planning process, I do. And master plan development, I do. But, I'm not sure if I support a warrant article that I haven't seen yet.
Okay.
Or the price on it, which I know the price is gonna be about 160,000, 50,000, 160,000.
You know,
So it depends on how the wording of our,
like I think we need to be real. We're quite small down on the list that Wayne runs through at the master. We can have a short as sentence as possible. It's I think, and it just says, you know, it's less dodgy than the last one we had where we were all some of us were on the fence. So this one just says the motion is the Energy Task Force recommend that the town develops a master plan.
Yeah, that's okay.
I can support that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So I propose a motion that the Energy Task Force recommends that the town develops a master plan. The town, we can say the town of Carlisle if you want.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I have one other question. Has the board of selectmen supported this?
Jeremy's.
They have not supported or done anything with any warrant article yet. They are going through the process in their current meetings to hear them all, and then at a future meeting they will support, or they will endorse or not each of them.
So, my feeling, unless all those boards support spending the money for the master plan, it'll be a waste of money, because they have to buy in.
I don't think it would be moved if
Right, okay.
if they walked away. To tell you the truth, I think it would be pulled because it's not. They don't want a failed vote, so they would move it to a special town meeting or.
Okay. Which is good. So I support that wording.
Okay. So
Does that amount to a second?
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we can say that voted unanimously. Make I call it a non-quantitative support of the master planning process.
I can spell today.
Yes, sir.
I have to leave,
Okay.
like, in the next few minutes.
Okay.
So,
Switch to
if
the
somebody
Elizabeth.
could unplug the Ethernet cable from the wall
Mhm.
and then just leave the equipment there, I'll come by tomorrow morning and pack it up. At the end of the meeting after you adjourn.
do you want me to pack it up for you, or just?
Oh, if you feel comfortable doing that, I'll leave that bag there.
Okay.
And
Can we just jump to the bit you and I are doing?
right, then
Yeah.
that's the next thing I wanted to do.
Sure, you want to.
So that isn't
meaning
basic-
household waste. Or,
No, it's
or,
green communities. Well, like
Oh, that too.
yeah,
Okay.
I want to just quickly update everybody on what happened at the
Well, that's
historic
next,
district
well,
commission.
Well, can I just say
Yeah.
my piece first?
Okay.
Because I have to leave. So I've been trying to get in touch with Matt at Ferns. I haven't been able to recently. He's always expressed support. I've given him, paper copies of the application for Eversource. I've given him electronic copies. He's always trying to get the woman upstairs, Mrs. Colkert, or who owns the place nominally. She has kind of a life estate situation, from what I understand. So she has to sign off on it. She hasn't been able to get the signature. The last thing, I got an email from him a few weeks ago, this guy Al, who's apparently her son-in-law,
Oh, okay.
is supposedly kind of managing the process of helping her understand what this all is. I've tried to contact him by email, could not find a phone number for him. Found out through Facebook that he's friends with Larry Bearfield, contacted Larry, tried to call Larry Bearfield, got no response from him, sent a second email. So there seems to be some inertia. The one thing I heard was that there was concern on their part about the Mass DEP with regard to the charging station. That doesn't make really any sense to me.
It might,
You know,
depending on where they're digging because of the hazmat site that's there.
yeah, maybe it's something to do with that,
And
but I
what
don't have
happens
any.
with the
We're-
soil when you excavate.
Right.
We're
That's
well
probably-
away from, we're in the back.
Yeah, I understand that.
We're well away from any hazmat.
But that's probably
right?
what it is.
Okay, that could be. So it's
But the
been
point is
very
that You haven't
difficult.
been able to talk to the people who have to sign, and that's.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten it. So, and I've been
that's
trying for
not the
weeks.
person.
I've been
Okay.
trying for weeks. So
Yeah.
Larry,
I'm not sure that we could get it. So the alternative is, so I've talked to Eversource and the Make Ready people. They've come out and looked at ferns. I sent your proposal to the Historical Commission to Eversource, so they understood exactly where we wanted the station, everything. They said that site is doable, but we would need to have a pole to bring the electricity across the street. And apparently Historical Commission doesn't want a pole. So
no,
it
they
start-
don't want the wires across the
That's
street.
good.
Pole's fine, but they don't want
No.
any, they're getting rid of all the wires from the street across the roads.
Okay.
This is the site at
And funds.
Ferns?
Ferns, yeah.
Yeah.
Ferns. They
Yeah.
get it out of the pole?
Yeah, because the high
They
voltage
need
is
to-
across the
They
street.
need to cross the road.
They need
and
to
so-
they need to bring it across, and the other feed that comes into the
It's on the ground.
to bring that around, I guess would mean digging through all the septic systems and the whole thing or whatever. Yeah. So so anyway, it's looking like Ferns is, unless some miracle happens, it's looking pretty dicey. So Eversource did also look at Town Hall. I've talked to Tim. He's amenable to the notion of having charging stations here. Eversource prefers this site because there's a high voltage transformer right on the site already, et cetera, et cetera. The Historical Commission would still be in play here a little bit. Half the parking lot's in the historic district, the near part, the far part isn't. But I think the Historical Commission wouldn't mind if there were some charging stations.
They're completely acceptable to the design, the ones we've chosen. There was
Yeah.
no question about the design. It was never an issue. The only issue was
The wire across
the wire
street.
cross. At that point, Eric Adams, the guy who owns the house at Sterlite next to
Yeah,
Burns,
yeah.
he wants electricity across the road too because he's got temporary wire there, right? And so he wants
To trench.
to trench anyway.
And then
And then there's going to be a new crosswalk as well.
right, the whole safe streets thing or whatever
Yeah,
it's called,
yeah.
they're going to dig that all up. So potentially, so it could be solved. So Ferns is, I guess, not completely off the table, but that's
Perhaps,
the update. It's
perhaps
like,
the town hall would be easier. The problem is I don't know. We wouldn't get it through the next historic districts because there's not enough time. But
Well, in
So
terms
we'd
of
have to go to
time,
the third
remember,
ones.
we have until the end of May,
Yeah.
and we can request an extension. Now, obviously, Neil, he's diplomatic, he can't guarantee the extension, but I got the impression that it's not a difficult process. And as long as, since we decided not to apply again for this next
You know,
year.
there are all kinds of
It's not a big deal.
wire and funds right in that area. What is the history of the commission problem? There are all kinds of over.
no, they want to get rid of them. That's their
Oh,
overall.
yeah.
They don't want to add to them.
So Claude, do you have a recommendation to keep trying Ferns or to switch to Town Hall, or are you just not sure?
I think we should go for town hall. I'm sorry.
Well,
Okay.
I'm
Because
gonna ask
they're-
Claude
uh,
before
What about
we-
the school?
We can ask you
Have
in
you
a
guys
minute.
addressed the school? Have you guys tried at the school?
no,
No.
I've not tried
Yeah,
this.
no.
See, if you,
But Claude, before you go, just, we can get everyone else's opinions after you leave, but do you have an opinion about Ferns versus Town Hall at this point?
Only
Give
that
us some more
I've
time.
tried very hard to get in touch with Matt and with this guy Al and so on, and it's been very difficult. and it's just not happening. So, if I have to predict the future, I suspect it's going to be the same thing. Now, maybe something will happen, something will kick loose, but it seems like there's a lot of inertia there.
Is the owner herself, as far as you know, capable of making the decision on her own? Or does she need the help of her son?
I don't know. I've never met her. She's quite old. I think she uses a walker. She does apparently leave. I mean, she goes out. You know, she's not completely housebound, but I don't really know much about her. But it seems.
Well, I would at least give. You know, I guess what I would recommend is at least tell Matt that you really have worked hard to get this paperwork through, and you know, we may have to seek an alternative location and make sure he understands that this is not a given if we don't get this approval.
But I mean, plus we'd have to then go back to Eversource and get them to agree to trench, and then we have to coordinate with when they dig up the road, and I mean, it just starts to be
Is there a
this
time,
really
is there a
much
time
bigger.
frame that we have to do this by?
Or we're
Well,
meant to
I'm
as
just
soon as
saying
possible.
Communities.
We probably can get an extension, and we can get more time. You know.
But that's Eversource is.
So
It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I think
So
you
I
oughta
would be-
switch. I think you ought to switch.
I
But we
just
could
feel
use
it's an
our-
easier,
honestly-
manageable project here.
So the funding is to purchase the station. We can purchase that any time. Eversource is doing the infrastructure and the pad to mount it on. So we probably should look at maybe purchasing
The hardware.
station and ask Eversource what recommendations on what we should purchase of that list, and then we can spend the money. And then I know Eversource is going to take a year
Exactly.
or more to
Exactly.
get their act together. So that would be my recommendation. Is
Okay, that's a good point.
move
Yeah.
towards it.
Well, we have a station that's already, you know,
You're
it's
ready
all
to go.
approved, ready
Yeah,
to
it's
go.
a
It's
one
pretty
package
easy.
deal and just drops in. The only other recommendation to do, if you're going to look at town hall, the facilities committee, when they studied this building, recommended a reconfiguration of that parking lot. So wherever you coordinate with Eversource to put it here at town hall, you really should coordinate with the facilities committee, because I'm not sure. I haven't been on it now for a year. I don't know where that flux is on that.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's my comments.
So the reason I suggested the school is they've been very receptive to the whole solar thing.
Mhm.
And there will be, if the solar gets put in, a very high voltage transformer sitting right off the edge of the parking lot there
Mm.
to handle the solar getting brought to
Yeah.
the back of the school.
Yeah.
So you could,
So, yeah,
Potentially.
when will it be sitting there?
if we get this thing through, it'll be there by summer, by the end of the summer.
Okay.
The only thing about the school is I think it's kind of an area that's got this sort of security corridor around it. In other words, just random people coming
Yeah.
in, charging.
But it
they
could
might,
be that
I
the teachers
sus-
could all use it all day long.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
They'll be
true,
parked all
but
day too,
Yeah.
which is nice.
So,
right.
I think we ought to try to get it done this year.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree.
that's going to be next year.
you think so?
By the time they connected that wire and there was actually power to that, it'll be lucky if
Okay.
it happens this year.
It doesn't cost us any money to go to the historic district, right? Because
Yeah.
the town covers that.
Yeah.
What's wrong with like the first spot in the town hall parking lot that now
The-
says short-term parking? That
Yeah.
was EV parking instead.
Yeah.
In that area there, they were.
Well,
doing
Eversource
reconfigure some
wants
of
to
it.
have an area where they can go up to 5 or 10. Yeah, in other words, they're looking to we'll provide the infrastructure so that it's easy to go to. You only have to do one. That's all you're on the hook for, or two. You know, one post with 2 cables,
Right.
and then, you know,
You're
so
all-
that's kind of their program. They're not willing to put the infrastructure in if it's, you know, if it's cornered.
Does anyone know when the facilities committee's next meeting?
I know they're meeting almost once a week or every year.
Okay, so I think we should maybe coordinate
Yes.
and then sort something out and just start preparing the documents for town hall, because we won't make this historic district commission meeting, so we'll have to have the documents in for whenever their next one is, April's meeting,
Okay.
and then we've at least got a backup plan, and that's all we can say then. So we've got 2, so we're and just
In
say
parallel,
we're working
yeah.
them both in parallel.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Claude.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
John, as far as the school goes, so we're just adding another complexity there. Amoresco is going to own the transformer.
Right.
They're going to pull the wires back there.
Yeah.
So if anything has to be upsized to support 5
Yeah, that's not gonna
EV
work
stations,
out.
it'll
The
just
parking lot and all those stuff,
Yeah.
involved in that
just.
too.
Right, would make it too complicated.
Well, the reality is probably a lot of places we,
I mean,
well,
at some
in my
point,
opinion, we
at
should
some
put
point, it
these-
would make a lot of sense to do that.
Right.
But should be in every
Well,
public
yeah.
building. But, you know, if we're just trying to get started, I think we should pick something
Yeah,
that
exactly.
doesn't have
No, I-
another.
The town hall is a
Another
very good
condition.
spot
As I
for
say,
it
it
because
just
people
ends
park
up-
here all day
Yeah,
long,
right.
and so an electric vehicle sitting there parked charging is a great thing.
So,
So,
and I think just getting one up and done and say we've
Yeah,
done it
just
is
if
really
there's another condition to make it happen.
Exactly.
I think
It's
that
just
makes
like it's
it
like
true.
becoming so difficult. I mean, they start.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like no, we will not give
Yeah,
you
a lot of
permission,
players
full
get
stop.
involved in that.
And then I went to
Yeah.
Complete Streets, and they were a bit, you know,
Yeah.
I would go and speak with Gary Davis, and it's like, and I'm sitting there going, oh, this is another
Yeah.
project, and I really don't need a project at this point in time.
Okay.
Um,
I would prefer town hall, you know, a lot more control rather than get involved in
Fingers crossed. We shouldn't be just presuming it's going to be like fingers crossed.
so what we need to do is
Okay.
get into the master plan. We need lots of these charging
Well,
stations.
actually, funny enough, that's what I had said to the historic district. Is
Yeah.
what I want to do is work with them and actually go through the permissioning now, so that when we get grants or if somebody turns up, they can say, no, this is how we do it, and this is what we've got to do, and these are our parameters.
Okay, so that's the update on
Sorry, that was-
charging station.
That was just the one on parking stations. Yeah.
Now, Bill probably has most of the information on the other projects, but I'm not sure. Basu, do you have any updates on
Well, as per
all your projects
all,
are
I
done
think
now?
all are done.
Yeah,
all
okay.
complete.
I'm sorry, I forget.
Everything was good. Yeah.
You did the school lighting and the DPW,
School, DPW, yeah.
Yep, those
They
are
were done ages ago.
Yeah.
They're all done.
and have we
So-
got? Had we had the invoices from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Acom.
yeah.
Yeah.
We need to submit another report at the end of March.
End of March.
Thank you. That's a good point. But then the
Yeah,
minutes.
every
And we need the
Invoice.
invoices from
Yeah.
ACOM and every project that's been
Yeah.
complete.
I think
You've
they've
set up
all
a
been-
template for
they've
that
all been signed
report.
off.
Is there a volunteer to?
Well, I don't mind doing it again, but I'm not going to do it next year.
Okay.
You
I
say
wasn't going to
that.
ask. I wasn't
This
gonna
is not
ask-
my job.
I wasn't going to ask you about next year. Anyway, about next year, and I wasn't looking at you when.
No, I
asking
mean I
about-
started it, and so it's logical I should keep doing it. I know the system now, and I know that
Okay.
we have to get the stuff from ACOM.
Great.
But we need to get the invoices,
Yeah.
or not even necessary. It's not even just whoever the contractor is.
Yeah,
Okay.
ACOM.
Well, I
From-
have to approve them,
And
so
you
I
have to
get
approve them.
copies, and Priscilla has them as well.
So have you approved anything recently?
Oh yeah, I've approved a few that have been submitted, and I confirmed with the project managers that they were
Yeah.
complete. And
Right.
and
So
then
I need
approved
to
them.
go to Priscilla and say I need all the documentation and proof that the town has paid, because that's what the Green Communities is looking for.
Yeah, I can't.
is the proof. Of,
Yeah.
So
she
I go
has
to
to give them the
Priscilla.
proof that they've been paid. I can't do that.
Okay.
So I think they're doing a valve thing now. right?
They are. Yes.
That's what they're doing.
That's what they were actively doing.
Yeah.
When
Yep.
we were going in.
So Bill can give us any updates, but when he gets back. So why don't we, in the meantime, why don't we move along to the municipal solar?
Well, Jonathan presented to the Board of Selectmen last week. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Sure. So first, thank you, Debbie, for the information on how much the municipal buildings use. So I ran the numbers of how much the solar arrays that they propose putting up are gonna do, and it works out to be almost exactly a 1-to-1 match. So
To the
That was
entire-
perfect, wasn't it?
yeah, to the amount of energy produced by these solar panels at both the transfer station and the school
Mhm.
will match the total amount of kilowatt hours used by the municipal buildings in town.
Okay.
Almost exactly. It's within noise of plus or minus 5% or so.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting,
That's
okay.
yeah, so as you continue to do more energy efficiency things, we'll eventually produce more than we consume.
So how does this
As a town.
actually
as a
work?
municipal
So I'm
town.
sorry
As long as we
to
don't grow.
keep asking this, but does would the town of Carlisle purchase directly from Amoresco, or would they purchase through our electricity through our Colonial Power, or how would we, the fact that those two match, what does that mean exactly?
It just happens to be nice that they match.
It's just a
There's-
way to give people a sense
Just
of
a
the amount
sense
of
of how much
electricity
energy we're
we're using.
producing.
But is it,
well,
how would that electricity actually be sold to the town, or could it be?
Well, I'll speak to this. So there's gonna be an agreement, a zero cost power purchase agreement, so the electricity is gonna be credited to the town accounts as net metering credits, and the town is gonna pay back Amoresco at the same value of the credit. So that essentially, those payments to Colonial Power will go away, because the bill will go down.
Nearly zero.
Well, it won't cover demand costs necessarily, but it will cover.
Well, they're not paying
Electricity
demand
costs.
costs through, if they switch to Colonial Power, they won't have a demand charge, as I understand. They pay the same
They
as
have-
residential rate.
Um,
And I think they're planning to switch over to Colonial
they
Power.
switched in January.
Okay,
Yeah.
they did switch, okay.
Well,
So
I
the
haven't
town
confirmed
accounts
that,
are gonna
but
be
that was the
credited.
intent.
You know, it will, the money will be credited to the accounts. And we'll pay Amoresco instead of paying Eversource, essentially, or Colonial Power, whoever we buy electricity from.
Okay. Well, okay. Okay, go ahead.
So let's see, things are moving along pretty well. Other than that, the school committee did vote to endorse the solar panels going up there, with a few caveats. Basically, they want to have final approval over what it looks like.
Okay.
So, and stuff like that.
They're still insisting on the paving, or?
Oh,
are
yeah.
they still there?
So that's the big hot button topic that we had before the selectmen started talking to me. So the paving, they do want the paving done. It looks like the best way to go about doing the paving is to have two warrant articles, one for the paving and one for the solar, and they will essentially move them as a unit at town meeting. And there's probably going to be no direct tie between them, other than the solar is quite likely to produce more in funds than the bond necessary to pave. So, logically speaking, they all go in and out of the same big account, but will end up producing enough money to pay for it.
So the paving will be free, no cost.
Negotiating
No cost for the paving.
You could look at it that way, but it's also, there'll be a town bond for it, there's gonna be a cost. Yeah, there's gonna be a cost, it's $235,000 or something to pave the parking lot there.
Yeah.
But this is just a way, the school was able to negotiate a position where, because their approval is required, they can get their parking lot paved, but it's not gonna change. I mean, we're gonna pay for that parking lot one way or
We
the other.
still need to pay for the parking lot, we just,
We're gonna get less money
they,
from the solar system.
right, so they want it done as part of this, as part of the solar system.
Right.
They've argued fairly successfI
Well, they can say no.
that they're,
so they can
well,
do it.
that they're, yeah, they could get nasty and just say, no, we don't want no solar if you don't do our paving.
Right.
I don't think it'll come to that, but they've argued fairly successfully that it's the right thing to do. The paving
Okay,
does need to
fair
be
enough.
done. It doesn't make sense to do it before solar and then rip everything up. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily make sense to do it afterwards and have to work under the canopies. Let's just all do it together.
Okay,
So,
but is Amoresco responsible for hiring the paver?
no,
or
they may
are
not.
we?
We must hire the pavers, that's one of the legal requirements.
So how they coordinate, they'll be able to
We
coordinate
have a
with
facilities
Amoresco?
committee.
And we'll have a facilities, I
Because
guess.
they have a facilities
Some-
manager at the school.
yeah.
They can organize that.
Effectively, we'll need a general contractor to manage the two of them working together.
But it sounds like,
So-
it sounds like when the paving is done is pretty important. It's gotta be done at the right point in the
Yeah, so
construction
we'll-
process, not before.
We're gonna have to ask Amoresco to do all their underground work first, then pave, and then let them do the
But
above ground.
they're also used to doing this. I mean,
So,
it's not that
but it
unusual,
is, this is probably the number one difficult thing that we've been working through, is trying to get that done. We tried to get Amoresco to do it, that wasn't looking very good. We tried to get Amoresco to pay for it,
Oh,
that
I
wasn't
got it.
looking very good.
Yeah, that's
So-
fine.
So when are they going to do it? In the summer break?
Yes, Amoresco would like to use the summer break to put up the solar panels. So if we get everything done, we'll just barely make it with town meeting vote, all the things that need to happen in the planning board after that, all the various approvals from Eversource, et cetera, such that they could potentially begin in time to finish the job during the summer before the kids come back to school.
Yeah.
So, but it is all, I mean, at some point it's gonna be like day by day, like, you know, are we actually getting it
Right.
done? Right?
So we need somebody to coordinate all these steps, some project manager.
Well, they have a facilities guy at the school. I don't know if he's gonna be involved, but I assume once everything gets signed, Amoresco is gonna be really intent on getting the thing up.
We have a facilities
So-
manager at the school, and we have a part-time facilities manager in the town. We should have enough project managers
All right.
to do this.
Well, we need to make sure one of
Yeah.
them is assigned.
Well,
to
the
job of
facilities
doing that
manager at the
work.
school is on the
The
committee.
school's a
He should-
logical one,
So-
That would be the person.
Yeah.
School, it's a school.
and if he
Oh.
goes on holiday, hopefully we'll have the backup of, vacation as you call it here. Hopefully we'll have the backup of the other guy.
I'm not too worried about that. I mean, like I said, the school, both individuals from the school, right? Rob Furtado is the facilities manager there. The superintendent, Jim O'Shea, and all the school committee have been really into the concept.
Okay.
So I
So
think
how
we're, I
about
think we're
the
running smooth
transfer
there.
station, did that happen before, that happens after, or it's?
Probably at the same time.
Okay.
And so, let's see, transfer station, they gave us a new design. The new design actually puts a ring of solar panels around the transfer station, rather than doing something right over the top of the middle. The
A ring
reasoning,
of canopies?
yeah, canopies around,
Architectural?
essentially. It happens to work out that it looks nicer too, but, but the main reason was, they went and saw the heavy equipment lifted up, and they were like, oh my god, that really does get very high, and we're concerned that it would be this monstrosity way up there, and so they didn't really like that
So
plan.
this will be outside.
I mean, when the dumpsters are pulled
Yeah,
onto the.
so
truck.
they analyzed how the dumpsters were pulled up, and they said, look, where the dumpsters actually sit, you don't need the height there.
Right.
You need it in
Dumpster
front of
in front
there,
of
and
it,
you
right.
get pulled up onto something, and so they basically, where the dumpsters sit all the way around in a ring, they could put solar panels right over top of them, and then the heavy equipment
So
can work in
we'll
between.
keep all our recyclables dry and then we'll.
Lower the tonnage.
And so.
Unfortunately, it's a solid waste tonnage we want to lower.
I'm gonna probably say this every meeting until you kick me out of the room, but, let's just make sure we're not generating a place for water to run off onto people or snow or ice to fall on people.
So that has been a discussion, and it seems to be falling that water will drip off the panels.
Yeah.
However,
Why
snow and ice
run
won't.
off?
Yeah, it won't run off. So basically, there's a gap between each panel, and the water will run around the panels. So you'll have a 3x5 area that water can come
So
down.
it's not a roof.
It's not a
the way
roof.
we think of it.
Yeah, it won't be a roof.
It's a
And
sunshade.
yeah, and there's a number of reasons for that. One is that if you tried to gutter it, then you have to like take that water and put it somewhere. You can't just like let it all fall off on the edge.
Well, they're doing
And then
it
gutters
Yeah.
get full of leaves,
So-
and you have to maintain them. And there's lots of reasons you
Yeah.
don't
So-
really want gutters in a
So, and
in a
it also
forest,
was going to look like it was going to be expensive for them to do it,
especially in the
and
spring.
that would take out of the lease that they're going to pay the town.
Yeah.
So it was looking difficult to do anything with water. However, they do manage the ice very well. So all of the arrays that they're putting up are in the form of a Y, and so all of the ice will slide to the center rather than off the edges.
And presumably most of the water would run at the
The
same
water
point.
would run towards the center as well.
Yeah.
Pictures, you
Okay.
Yeah, we have some good renderings that they provide.
Yeah, I'm just only thing the water falling
Now
in
you're
the
going to have
middle
to send
and
them to me so I can attach them to the minutes. you
Just
know.
the main parts not the.
Oh, so it's a pretty shallow one.
really?
but the water falling in the middle.
Yeah, it's one of them is like a 1 degree slope, and the other one's
Yeah.
like a 2 degree slope. So
Okay.
it basically
Okay.
it
So it's
it
flat.
ensures that you don't have
That
ice
is
sliding
flat
onto
roof.
you.
That work.
That's the flat roof if you're an
Yeah.
architect.
That's nice.
So I think that's a big improvement from the
Yeah.
30-foot.
Oh, right.
Yeah, way up
Oh,
high.
yeah, that's- It's not quite a donut. I said it's a donut shape. It's not.
Oh no,
It's
it's
a
not.
quadrangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks almost.
Um,
It looks like we're making a university for trash here. It's quadrangle like
Yes.
in one of the courtyards in
The
Oxford
trash quad.
University.
So it does require removing trees.
Yes, this is the downside to
Oh,
this
okay.
is because it's right up against where the trees currently are. They would like to remove trees to the
Between
south,
the road
particularly.
and the transfer station?
No,
or the
oddly, it's
side?
not between the road and the
Outside,
transfer
yeah.
station.
Oh, that might
It's,
actually get less,
It's south, so
Yeah, it's mostly to the south.
if you look at this is
Yeah.
south with
Yeah.
Morse Road, that's Morse Road right there, and it comes here,
Yeah.
Lowell is over here. So they would remove trees up to
Yeah.
the little river there.
and you discussed that with the selectmen?
I mentioned it to the selectmen and they glossed right over it. I think the reason they glossed over it is I said it, on the plan it says 1.9 acres of trees, but a substantial amount of that has no trees on it already.
Okay.
It's covering like the area where the extra shed is behind the dump.
Okay.
And there's a couple of
Good.
scrub trees here and there. There is still a fair number of trees to the south that they would end up having to remove, but it's not
I don't think it's that bad.
it's not near as bad as the original plan that had a bunch, you know.
And
heading
those
down
trees
towards
are
the
not,
north.
it's not.
Yeah, no, right.
It's most of it's
So-
scrub type stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I'm fine with that, I just wanted, I
So,
was
but it does
curious
mean,
whether the
because it's
board
gonna be
was-
close to wetland, we do have to get in front of the, conscom, we haven't done that
Okay.
yet,
Okay.
to get their approval to do that kind of stuff, so.
The facilities committee was looking at expanding the salt barn. How's that?
That's off to the side up there.
Okay, so it's not gonna
I,
interfere with
I
it?
don't think so.
So are there,
Salt barn is the one that is right under here,
Yeah, it's the corner of Old Morse
Right.
Road and,
Yeah,
which is already taller than.
we
It's
can't
very
afford
taller.
anything. We can't
Right.
afford anything for.
you know, that's one of the things, another one of those things that need to be done.
Yeah.
But,
What
because
is
it's
Bill,
falling,
I
it's
told you,
falling
Bill.
apart.
I know we don't control the mosquito, but, I'm just imagining, is there, do you perceive any risk that, since this is being voted for as a warrant article, that, it would not be voted for?
so actually
Is there any more
my,
information we should get in front of the public before the meeting?
so yeah, so we have an action item as a team to figure out how to do, informational sessions. And we have some feedback from Amoresco's when they're available, we meet tomorrow to discuss it.
Okay, good.
So we need to do that hopefully in the month of March. And then I believe the planning board has to have open hearings on the bylaw before it goes to town meeting. So there's that stuff that needs to happen still. That is one of the pieces of feedback that we got from the selectmen. The selectmen want us to talk to the abutters, particularly of the transfer station,
Mhm.
because of various different reasons. We're changing some stuff up on them.
It's going to look nicer than, in my opinion.
So what does talking to the abutters mean? then?
I don't know, I was
That'll be
hoping
their
someone could advise me on what that meant, because I didn't think
This
having
is
me
the
take the
solar
dog for a walk
overlay.
and stop there and knock and
This
say,
has already been
This
approved.
is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
well, so the
troubling part.
difference is that we have to amend the bylaw
Yes.
to have it be higher, and so,
Yes.
to have
It's still,
the
it's
canopies be
not,
higher,
got it.
so.
Okay,
So
enough.
with just talking to the abutters, again, it's if you go and talk to them personally, it works better.
Yes, but I don't even know how you go about doing that. Like, I think I would feel a little weird just walking up to their door and
I
knocking.
know this is where,
so.
yeah, I know. Well, you might.
Well,
Yeah,
I have no
Carlisle
idea who you
normally
are, and
does
you
that,
have no
yeah,
idea who I am,
exactly.
but,
So I don't know. If, you
Seems
know,
reasonable to ask the selectmen for the contact information and the
the
abutters.
planning department will have it because whenever you have to put in anything, like
Yeah.
for the zoning board of appeal, they have the addresses and they write a letter. So that's what they need to do. Is that
Yeah.
they need to write a letter saying, or some of the planning
Yeah, it
department
should come
saying,
from the town.
can you come and review? You know, come and into the
Jonathan's
town and review
Jonathan
this.
wants to speak to you,
Yeah.
Right.
here's the
Explain the
subject.
He'll be
project.
available at this time. Please show up and talk to him.
Well,
Well, something
you
like that.
could arrange the time with.
I mean, there aren't that many. There's like 3 maybe on that actually.
Right.
I don't know if
But if
anyone
so-
actually
It would
overlooks
seem
the dump.
reasonable, wouldn't it, to ask the
Yeah, I
town to
think
introduce
right
you?
on the other side of the street.
Yeah, so
There's
that,
one looks onto Law Road,
One, yeah.
and I think the other
I
one
think
looks
it's
up
on the
onto
back.
Elizabeth
Well, the ones that so they're worried about two aspects. One is the ones to the north.
Yeah.
They're worried about the height stuff related to that, and then the ones to the south, they're worried about the tree removal with respect to that. So,
Right.
and they basically just want to make sure that the abutters have had a chance to talk to people, so they don't get up in front of a town meeting and start lamb blasting.
No, it's a great idea,
So,
and it's correct to point out that it's,
Yeah, the
it
problem.
does require an amendment to our,
Problem is, they need to support this, so we're gonna try to go back next Tuesday.
Yeah, so I was not prepared for the feedback that they got, so I didn't even know what questions to ask them when they said go talk to the abutters. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. I guess I'll have to ask somebody.
But it was more than that too, right?
Yeah, so that's one. So another one is they made some interesting commentary about, do we need to restrict the place where these canopies are higher, so that you can't put tall canopies elsewhere in the existing overlay district, only here, to keep the abutters happy.
But I think the language, Jenny's writing up, the language is only, the height change is only for a parking canopy.
Okay, yeah,
It's
so
not for
we'll have to
ground.
figure out, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
We need to just word that correctly in the bylaw, and that won't be a problem.
right, she's already got that covered.
So the big bugaboo right now is they don't want us to take the entire school lot and make that part of the solar overlay district. They want it only essentially in the areas we're currently working. Possibly I'm trying to figure out if we can get them to agree to include all the buildings, so that we could put big arrays on top of the buildings in the future.
I think we've got
But
structural problems about putting
that might be,
buildings.
but that'll get fixed in the future by better
Buildings don't
panels
matter.
or something.
Yeah.
Buildings
It's right by right.
by right.
I believe the way the current bylaw is written, if you get to a certain size, it doesn't matter where they are, whether they're on rooftops or what.
No, I think if
See
it
the-
has the
Really?
load.
The panels we put on the building, I think I don't think we had any problem.
You know what
Yeah,
they're
but it's
doing?
before a particular size, once it gets to a certain size. I could be wrong, but.
You know, in the UK they put them vertically on buildings now.
Well, the reason they put
So-
all the lots is because we need to, the district needs to cover all the wiring.
Yeah.
And then, so if the wiring's going behind the school and
We need to cover at least
potentially
that
to
much.
the,
In any case,
to
the
the
important
street.
thing is they don't want to cover the treed area or the fields, but it's all one big lot. Town council tells us that we need to do something then to define the area. So we need to get somebody like Stamsky and McNary out to do a survey that says this is the area where the solar overlay district is, and make a specific plot out of it. So I am now working through that.
That's just a paper survey.
So you have to
It's
so you're defining the plot
It's not
for the
quite a
parking.
survey.
The parking.
That's what we used to do all the time.
well, in any case, they
No.
They have to do something.
They draw on a drawing and then you have to go up. It's just
Right.
based on the bounds of the plans.
well, but it's subdividing the existing plot.
Right.
So,
well,
anyways.
you're not really subject, because for
Yeah.
instance, they did it already on the overlay district. They took a 200 by 200 foot piece out of the next lot where the sand, where the,
Yeah.
not the
junk
sand,
is.
but the
Yeah,
brush,
gravel
the
and
brush.
Brushes, yeah.
the brushes out of that lot because they needed it to be that large, and they apparently they did not survey that.
Okay.
So it's just a paper. They made a drawing of that. Was
But that was a pretty easy thing.
And
Go
so-
200 feet here, go 200 feet here.
right. Spell the meets and bounds and a point of
The
beginning,
school
and a point of ending.
Lots are a little
Okay.
Do that
more.
all the time.
Well, they don't even know who owns Spalding now.
Well, in any case, it gets complicated because we can't say that. We need
Right.
an engineering firm to say
Exactly.
that. Which means that we now need to go back to the Board of Selectmen and say, would you please authorize Tim Goddard to spend X dollars to go have Stamsky and McNary or some other engineering firm give us the
Right.
plan that says this so that we can meet your demands. So, it's
It's just adding more conditions.
exactly
At a late,
it's,
at a late period. of
it's
time.
making it more complicated. So I guess it's on us. We didn't go back to the Board of Selectmen before and talk to them. Until this, we could have
Well, we couldn't until we had the design.
we would, and there wasn't really much we could talk to them about.
Right, until we,
So-
until we had this revised design,
Yeah.
really, and the school committee approved it. They wouldn't have wanted to see it unless the school committee
Right.
said they're okay with it. So it's,
Yeah. So in any case, yes, it's late in the process. We're trying to get all this done.
Yeah.
So my fear is that we won't get all this stuff done in time for town meeting that,
Right.
because we've gotta get we've gotta get the engineering plot plan done to put it in the bylaw so that we can review the bylaw at the planning board meetings so that we can get to town meeting, right, so there's,
I know before you were a little concerned about the pace that Amoresco was working at. Are they getting on board up to speed, or are they still lagging a bit?
so they're still lagging pretty bit. Like for example, I asked them, when can we do one of these informational sessions, and it took them a week and a half to get back to me with, well, we can do it 2 weeks from now. And so, yeah, they're still not rushing forward. However, they did at least get us the nice rendering, so,
Yeah, that was the key, right?
yeah, so.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're
hopefully,
making progress, just it's
I mean, I
slow
know
and
that they
difficult.
may not feel the same time pressure as we, but if it's clear that if it doesn't happen this summer, it doesn't happen, maybe they'll,
Yeah.
Well,
Only 3
Snap
months,
to it.
like already
Yeah.
March, April, May, June.
Well, we're meeting tomorrow. Okay, we'll get our plan, and I assume we'll go back on Tuesday and try
yeah,
So
so
did
we'll
you
have
try to get
Tiana put us
approval?
on Tuesday again next week.
and get approval. And I
And
think
it's-
if there's things that they say, oh, you have to split the land, okay, we'll do that. Approve it with that provision, not say, come back.
Right.
It's just gotta be.
Did you ever get permission to speak directly with them? It sounds like
Yes.
you did, but
Yes, we did get permission to speak directly
Yes.
with them.
all right.
And then I went and took additional permission and talked to
Good.
Stamsky and McNary.
Wow.
So I'm like, we gotta move this thing.
You gotta push on it.
So,
I agree.
As we're talking
a lot
about
of
the
work.
transfer station, do we want to talk about household waste committee to talk about that? Because I think if you talk about the transfer station, what people are going to ask is what's happening with. I mean, when you were doing the review, and this is the problem, is at least because Claude's not here, but they were planning on changing the layout of the transfer station. Does that work
Right,
with
but I
the,
think
Who's playing the trash?
the trash committee? Yeah.
I
Well, it wasn't
yeah,
that. They were just.
I haven't seen a
They
new
were.
layout, so I
They were.
wouldn't know.
They were going to take some of the because they're going to change to single stream recycling, which means they don't need the metal. The glass still needs to be there, but the metal and plastic dumpsters don't need to be there.
Well,
You
Claude
mean
didn't.
the cans, the one in the,
Yeah.
not the, gotcha.
And it's because they all just go into a dumpster, and they were planning to have an extra
But
compressing station, I think.
I agree there were some changes in the layout, but it seems to me that, it should be understood that Amoresco, that, layout may change here, this is what we have now,
I
but you
think
have to go
this
ahead,
layout-
you have to
I
go
think-
ahead, because it wasn't even clear what's gonna happen with the paper throw. It looked like it got a lukewarm reception with the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if it'll get an up or down vote. I don't even know if it's still being forwarded as a
I
warrant
have no
article.
idea.
Well, the good news in all
But I
this
think
is that
that-
they
I
don't
think
have
this
to
is easier to-
finalize design until after town meeting, because that's part of site plan review.
Right.
So if all of these things pass at town meeting, then
They'll
we'll have
all
to
get
do
moved into
one
that.
site plan review for what's this thing gonna look like.
But it
Right.
seems to me that the layout
So-
for, if we do go to the single stream recycling and paper throw, whatever combination, that the layout will have to accommodate the solar canopy structure. That seems to me to be the sensible order, given where we are. And
I think the quadrangle.
intuitively
I
it
think the
seems
quadrangle solution that they have proposed now will actually work better
it
for
might.
what they're trying to do. I actually think it will. So
And by the way, Claude, correct, I think he's correct in saying this. I made a plea to make this layout revision to be a little bit more comprehensive, but we've got paid people who are supposed to be doing that, and I think the layout of the transfer station is pretty poor. Even if we didn't go to paper throw, we can make a lot of improvements in the layout. So, frankly, it probably just makes it easier because you put in the canopies and then they'll have fewer options to consider for laying out everything else, and I don't know. I hate to.
The only thing that they're really worrying about now in terms of the canopies is where they site the poles relative to the compactors. They want to make sure that those poles are not in the way of traffic. And so if there is gonna be a new compactor,
That's what I'm saying, is that
they
it's-
wanna know where they're gonna put that, because they wanna put the pole such that it doesn't end up in the middle of the compactor or in the middle of the road next to the compactor. So,
So, yeah.
or you'd have to put the pole in and then put the compactor where the pole is okay, right?
Right.
One way or the other,
Yeah.
whichever one comes first.
First.
So they have some flexibility in where they put the poles either.
They have lots of flexibility in terms of where they put them, yeah. So, yeah, so they, like, for example, they ended up having to, like, put a pole on either side of the sheds, right, in order to do some of them, and then only on one side of the shed on various others, depending on what the span is. So,
I don't know, it just seems like you put one more hurdle in front of you, you go from,
Yeah,
you're
but
already at a
I would
high risk
recommend,
here.
if this other thing goes forward, then, yeah, whoever gets there first
Right.
decides what the layout is,
Right,
and the other guy
exactly.
takes
Right,
it.
I agree.
So,
I just think that you're going to get questions from people, and that you need to be aware that you're going to get questions for them. And, you know, I think.
so I shouldn't just stand up there and say, well, we don't think that's gonna pass, so it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might not go over well.
When you did the
Well, the best
when
way
Bob
to
did the emissions that we produced from our trash, yes.
But the best thing to do here is for Debbie and Claude and Lana to be bought into the idea that we're going to put priority on the canopy, and we'll work around it for whatever else we do there. That would be my suggestion. Is
Or provide a.
and maybe you could.
Or
layout.
they allow, when they plan it, goodness knows when we allow for the extra possible, because that fourth dumpster has been recommended. We had a grant for it at one point in time.
I know.
So it's been like
Do you
know
people
where it
been
would
talking.
be?
It's like I think Claude had it on the other end. He did the presentation here. He added it onto
Yeah, but
the
that was
end.
Is it where the farming
was-
equipment
How's
is?
that
or on
going?
the
I mean,
other
that
end?
seems like a nightmare, that you drive up, you park, you put your stuff here, you put stuff here, you'd have to walk all the way around, go to another dumpster.
Yeah.
No, because you have you'd have two trash recycling. Is it trash recycling cardboard? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Don't ask me, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
no, I think you're right. If you
Yeah.
have to walk around one of the
Right.
compactors
Yeah,
to
it's
put
gonna
start
kill
your
it.
stuff, it's not gonna work.
It's gonna lock up the whole, unless you drive around again.
No, I think they might. I don't know.
Unless they're saying two single streams, a single stream and a trash, single stream and a trash, and they have two things going or something. Who knows? Should work with a canopy,
Yes.
regardless.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's just saying if there's a fourth compactor, you know, make sure
Good.
we've just moved it
Well,
moved it. If we have to, turns out you end up having to move it 5 feet, allow for it now rather than later.
I
That's
sort of
all.
feel it the same way as with
Yeah.
the charger.
But-
If we put any more barriers in
Mhm.
front of this project, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's already pretty risky for.
Well, I thought we had one thing to deal with, which was the paving, and thought we had that under control, and the selectmen gave me 3 more. So
That's-
I don't think we can handle another one.
Right.
So.
So I think that if there's questions, the way to handle it is for someone to speak to Lana and have Lana stand up and say, I'm good with this, we can work around it.
There you go.
That's all
Done.
you need. But yeah, that's the sort of thing you need to do.
So do you wanna talk to Lana and ask her that question?
I'll do Lana and Claude because I think I need to do both
Okay.
of them.
Why
I
don't-
can't-
why don't-
I can't.
Service over there.
Why don't I send you the renderings?
It was underground to the
Send me
transfer
the
station?
what I need actually from you is
location of the pill.
a plan,
Yeah, I think.
They have an overlay.
Location of the
an overhead plan.
Yep.
And so I
Yeah, I
need
think
those then
they-
I
I mean, it doesn't have the
Comes in, it's
measurements
underground,
on it.
over there.
I would expect from my
think so.
Yeah.
They
You
should
could get me
transform
an
it
overall
It has the
plan
visual.
with and hopefully
Right.
maybe
The
we
pole,
actually
I think
can
was-
show
they showed
where
Yeah, it shows where the
It goes
poles are.
underground.
but and also shows where the
So-
compactors are. Then
Yeah,
I
it
can
shows
then I
those.
can
It's a Google map of the compactors with there's red dots for the poles.
fine because
They would
then
know
I've got Google Map
columns
and I'll be able to see where
now
the
instead of
existing
what
is, and
change
then I can
later.
say this is what we need because I
Okay,
just
we've
take
got
it
2
over.
meetings going on here.
Because you need
is
the
there-
plan,
Sorry.
for all the compactors
Yeah.
and this one.
What I can do is I can
Yeah.
produce a plan.
Yeah.
It takes me
Okay.
to producing documents is easy. Producing reports are harder.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to cover on municipal solar?
Sorry, that was a very long update.
No, there's a lot going on there.
with the Green Communities project? Or
Yeah,
just
we skipped over it because
Yeah.
you were, had to step out, but we're going back there, so you've got the floor, Bill.
Oh, no? Well, the Green Communities projects, I think just about all of them are done except for the on-demand ventilation at the school.
Right.
Some issues with the one of the air handlers up there, and there's some issues with having a contractor come out and fix the CO2, the pressure sensor, and then coordinating with the contractor. So that's still around 85% done. It's just punchless items and getting some graphics done on the computer. So that takes care of that. The D-Strat fans, Friday I'm meeting with Guardian. Dan won't be able to make that, and we're going to be going through that project, and then we'll get a final firm quote from them.
So they're going through the school and then
Right.
firming up their quote, and then
Right.
we can get back to
And
Neil.
then as soon as I get the firm quote from them, I'm going to give it to you, and then you can coordinate with Neil to see if we can transfer dollars from the anti-idling funds into this one, so we can get this done.
Great.
Has this anti-idling is complete?
Is what?
Anti-idling
I've
is
considered
installed?
it complete.
Yeah, I think so, but Chief
and
email said it was.
yeah, I've approved an invoice to pay for it. I've considered it complete. Yeah, and just for an update, I did talk with Neil Duffy at DUER, and again, he can't give verbal approval, and we haven't given him numbers, but I got a warm fuzzy that this is something they would this is a reasonable request to make to move the funds from A to B. There's
Okay.
not a guarantee that they'll approve it, and we need to give them the numbers and they'll decide. But it's a reasonable request to make, which is encouraging.
The last one that I've been involved in is this town hall buildings where we changed all the valves out to single pressure sensing valves, if you will, and it's going well. The VAV that's always been in question down by the treasurer's office, the water temperature's gone up 5 degrees and they haven't even finished yet. So it's getting more volume down there. I asked them today to turn up the pressure valve instead of what the design was for the coil, to turn it up higher so that we can get more water through it. And hopefully it'll warm up that area. They're about, there's 2 more days left for them to work here, if everything goes well. Tomorrow they're gonna pull out all the pumps and put the VFD pumps in, and Friday they're gonna just button up and clean up everything, and then sometime in the following week or so, somebody from BCM is supposed to come out and hook up the pressure sensing. They did put remote sensors, pressure sensors, on the first floor and the second floor, and they have a little box that they're going to tie it into the BCM. They have their building management system, and the BCM is supposed to supposedly do that. So, so that works. So hopefully those 2 projects will get underway, and with the
Are you
race
doing this during the day or at night or
every day.
every day?
And what we've done, that's why it's kind of warm up here and cool down the first floors, because we're relying on the RTU to heat the building right now. Well, just before they just finished, they turned the boiler back on, because we had to drain it down today.
Got it.
And that was the biggest issue tonight, because they've been working all day trying to get the air out of the system. The system that was installed has no bleed points anywhere. It's terrible, the way it was installed way back when. So, anyway.
Great.
That's as far as I know. All the others are all the lighting is
lights
all
are
done.
Lighting is all done.
And I hopefully the invoice has been paid on those. So
Yeah, invoices are submitted. I think they've been paid.
It's been approved.
Yeah.
Approved.
Right. Yeah, so they're probably paid
So
right now.
our job is done, but hopefully they were paid.
So it's just
Great.
these 2 projects, and quads. There's a race to see who's going to furnish first.
Well, it looks like, it looks pretty obvious that we'll have to ask for an extension, but I would like to make sure we get our request for moving the funds in before we ask for the extension, because
Yeah, makes sense.
just do it all at once, and that'd be the easiest and cleanest thing. So again, I'm guessing that neither one will be a problem, but it's not a guarantee. Great. And then I think I don't know if you were in the room, but Debbie volunteered to put together the quarterly report,
Oh, great.
next quarterly report with
Thank you.
inputs
Doesn't
from
it
the-
does it just seem that we just did one?
Yes, right.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
you know, quarterly is quarterly.
March, yeah.
It's the end of March,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
So
I mean, normally we have it in because we're going for a grant, and then I just suddenly thought this evening, oh my, we've got to have it in even if we haven't got a grant going in.
If you need any info, just send me an email and I'll get it.
Yeah, I think we just it's just going to be updating it. It's more getting the
Yeah, I
the
think
invoices
if
that
you go to
we paid.
Priscilla, she should have all the invoices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And just, I mean, at least we got. It's not like, oh my,
Yeah,
we've
right.
got a couple of weeks to get it in.
Right. Okay.
Thank you for remembering it, Debbie, and for offering to draft it. Anything else on green communities?
No, I should do it.
Excellent. So I'll try to be quick on my stuff here. Long-term goals, I was away, so we Debbie and I haven't met for, I guess, a month now. We'll meet tomorrow night, right?
Yep.
One thing I did do is get information on the Concord Carlisle High School. So I will be adding in another 380 metric tons of carbon emissions for our share of the high school, just for reference, and that takes our total from town total from 45,300 to 45,700. I'm putting it under municipal, so it takes our municipal emissions from 1050 to 1430 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. The other thing we talked about, I think at our last meeting, was we should present this to the board as selectmen, and I'm sure folks will want to see another revision of it, but I'd like to get a sense for when would be good timing to do that, if people have any opinions on that.
After town meeting.
I think
Given the
that's
fact
a
that-
given. I don't think we can get anything on a schedule before town meeting, but I can go ahead and schedule that if people are comfortable.
They're gonna be pretty busy until town meetings.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we're going to say. Will be after town
It's going to
meeting.
be in May,
Yeah.
right?
May or June, yeah. Traditionally, we've actually gone in front of Board of Selectmen in June. Funny enough.
Just for a task force report?
Yeah, just a review.
Annual report?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they ask
Yeah.
for it, or did we offer it, or how'd that work?
It's usually because there's various things like the grants coming in and stuff like that. You know,
Okay.
when we've had grants that we've applied for. But yeah, when I was doing it, it was in June. For some reason, that was when we managed to find
Oh,
time on
yeah.
the agenda.